Right now, on the flip side,
The conflict of becoming roommates.
The security of skin-to-skin contact.
Marriage.
and why what annoys you also attracts you. Episode 20. Join us.
Hey!
Well, hello and welcome to the flip side. We are at our 20th episode. 20
Wow.
different flip side episodes. We got the golden balloons. We got some extra special coffee. Haley, what do we got in the coffee here for episode 20?
For episode 20, we have a single origin, because we know how you love your single origins, from Guatemala.
All those different origins confuse me. I like the Guatemalan.
Big fan of that.
Actually,
Okay.
and it's lemon zest, cherry, and molasses.
Oh, wait.
Serve the guests first.
Serve the
Wow.
guests first. I'm so eager.
First class service.
I did go to a 6 a.m. prayer meeting this morning for a week of waiting on God, and I'm really ready for some coffee.
Yeah, I love Guatemala.
So-
Thank you.
So we got the 20th episode while she's pouring that. We have got the single origin Guatemalan coffee.
Yes.
And we also have some really special guests because we're starting a whole new series at Bayside. It's called Family 30.
Yes.
We're going to go for 30 days preaching, teaching, refuels, Instagram, Facebook, all that on how to build a stronger family. Everyone's got a family.
Yes.
And I invited a couple of young families into the flip side because we're going to have an on-air young married young family counseling session.
Is this an intervention right now?
Notice my wife isn't here.
She's not even here. That means we're winning. We're definitely winning. We're both here.
No, we didn't ask her. Okay, before we do that, oh wait, we got what else we got?
Gosh.
For episode 20, we also have little nothing bun cake bun tea.
Oh,
We have to eat
We
all
have
20.
chocolates.
Those are really good. Those are really
We
good.
all have to
red
eat
velvet,
20. What kind do you
That
want?
snickerdoodle.
Special snickerdoodle and vanilla.
Oh my gosh.
Snickerdoodle.
Not that I looked and checked out which one I wanted.
go.
No, I thought that was
Yeah.
spice, but yeah,
Pick your
snickerdoodle.
poison.
It's like that.
You know what?
Carl.
I'm just going to have this coffee.
What?
I'm just going to have this
Wow.
coffee today. Carl. Hey,
Wow.
Family 30. It's
King to the
I'll have
king.
his.
You got to start with
You
I
have
really
to.
appreciate the gesture, Haley, but my pancreas is saying no,
Yeah.
don't do it.
Yeah, there we go.
And
We will have it. Thank you.
I'll eat them.
I am on the verge of a rare type 3 diabetes. That's how bad. That's how bad it could be with me.
Cheers.
That's an old marriage problem, but we're gonna actually get into these guys. But before we do, let's get a little profile here. Carl, why don't you go first because he just took a bite. Tell me about your wife and kids. How long you've been married? Give us a little family profile here.
My wife Jen and I have been married for a little over 10 years. We have 2 awesome little girls. They're 7 and 4. They're little caramel babies. Because I'm black, my wife's white.
It's a biracial marriage.
Yeah, so they make caramel. But they're beautiful little girls, and Jen
They are
is
beautiful.
Jen is the best. I actually met her at the first church that I served at. She didn't think I was qualified to work there, so she started volunteering, and I took her on a couple dates where she thought she was helping with the Christmas play. So that's our little love story.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And how long you been married?
Just about 10 years. Over 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah,
10 years.
yeah,
So
10
you
years.
got a couple years on this couple.
Yeah.
So give us the profile. How long you guys been married? What's going on in your lives?
Oh my gosh. So, nothing new really. But we've been together since we were kids, 14 years old.
Yep.
Not recommended for kids at home. Wait till you're 30. But we made it work, and we've been together for 6.5 years.
Been married for over 6.5 years now. Yeah.
Wow, wow.
Yeah. And we're expecting.
A child.
So.
Wow, excellent.
So let's be really clear.
Yes.
You've been married for 6.5 years.
Fact.
It's not that you're 20 and a half.
We were not married.
You guys are 20 and a half years old?
Some key phrases left out of that.
You graduated from college and seminary
Like
and
you're
everything.
adults.
And you're having the baby.
So, I'll do it.
Yes.
Yes. She is
You're going to
pregnant.
handle this? You're
When
going to
is-
handle
no,
that.
when
got
is
this
the-
one.
Tell them again when the baby's coming.
Oh, March 18th is the due date.
So this is the beginning of a very important stage in the family when
It
you
is
start
true.
having a baby. So we got me. I've been married 33 years to Miss Kelly. I got 3 kids, and we got Karl's 10 years, and we got you guys 6 years. So I'm going to do something that I've done with young couples my entire pastoral career. I work with college students, so I've done 1 million marriages. We started this in pre-engagement counseling. So before you say, hey, will you marry me? Here's some questions you should ask. Then we realized it worked for like young couples that were struggling. And now here at Bayside, I've found that these principles pretty much work for any age and stage of marriage, that they never stop working. So I'm going to give you guys 3 principles, and I'm going to give you some questions around it, and then you're going to give me great observations from your marriage. And does that sound like a good thing to do here?
Excited.
So, all right, let's kick off this Family 30 special inaugural podcast, episode 20. Here's the first principle. Great marriages create compatibility. Compatibility does not happen naturally. In fact, what happens naturally is we marry our opposite. That's almost always the case. Proverbs says this, Proverbs 18:22, I love it. He who finds a wife finds what is good and receives favor from the Lord. And a lot of times, we'll take this in the superficial meaning of going, hey, if I can just get anyone to marry me, I'm a lucky guy. But it's not actually, there's so much more to that. It's actually he who finds the most important discipler of his life. That's what I think that means. Most men don't realize that God actually is putting their wife in their life to call them to the highest purpose of who they are. And I think the opposite also happens when a godly man has that same impact. I had a single friend, he said to me once, I said, you should get married. You're an incredible guy. You should get married. You'd be a great husband. You'd be even better father. Incredible guy. He's in his mid-30s. I'm like, not everyone should get married, but you should get married. He said, well, I got 2 issues I'm working on. Until I get them solved, I'm not going to get married. And I said, you do have 2 issues, and they do need work. They need like 24/7 work.
Yeah.
He goes, but who would do that for me? And I was like, it's called a wife.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Called a wife.
That's a fact.
He who finds that person who's committed to being their best. And it's true. But so here's my question. I'll start with you guys. Where are you different in a way that annoys each other?
Yes.
Where are we not different? That's a great question.
But in a way that annoys each other.
Oh, man. Well, first, what you said, Kurt, Pastor Kurt, you know how so many couples marry the exact opposite. Couldn't be truer. On the Myers-Briggs personality test, Allie and I are exact opposites.
You really are.
We are.
Really
We are. So I'm an ESFJ, the total feeler. She's an INTP, brilliant thinker, strategist. And I love what you said, how godly marriages create compatibility, because we've just seen over the years how even started with the foundation of friendship since we were dating so young, but really how God has even made us more compatible as the years have gone on. The things that annoy each other, well, one of my top strengths is achiever. So I'm pretty sure, and babe, you can attest to this, that there are days where I drive her nuts with how many things I want to do and get done. I love making a to-do list and trying to check as many boxes off of that as I can. So that's probably got to be one of the high ones. Yeah,
I'll get more serious.
Okay.
I think that, sometimes I put the toilet paper roll where the toilet paper goes like that way, you know?
The right
just
way.
Out of negligence. Like I don't have a preference.
Yeah.
But he really doesn't like that. He likes the toilet paper to go like
It's true.
that way.
You roll it down.
So, so we've had to reconcile that.
That's
It's a big issue.
Other big things. Tyler, this is probably the biggest difference. When we make a plan, I'm like, let's go through all the ways this could go wrong.
Yeah.
And then improve it and strengthen the plan.
Yes.
Tyler's like, it's going to work out. And that is the biggest difference between us.
Yeah.
That's so good.
I'm the fatal optimist in the relationship.
But it always works for him, too. So.
Okay, so this is Kelly and I have this exact same thing. And for the first 3 years of our marriage, I took this as, why was I so madly in love with Eeyore?
Yeah.
I mean, because every single, and I'm a risk taker. I do also want to achieve a lot. I'm an activator. And she'd just point out, these are the 3 things that are going to go wrong. I could see them before they happen. And I'm like, you have no faith. Why don't you believe in me? One time we got permission to do a dorm talk in every single dorm at the UOP campus. And they were completely closed to us before this. And all of a sudden, we did one, we got permission for one, and then we were the main programming thing for the whole campus the next thing I knew. So I did 12 nights in a row of multiple dorms. she says to me, we're not going on our date night. This is going to end up bad. This is frustrating for me. You're out of balance, blah, blah, blah. I said, baby, kids are getting impacted for Christ every single day. This is like a one-time opportunity. This isn't one time. It's going to be like this our whole marriage. Yes. I know it is. And I was walking home from campus the next day, and I said, God, why did you put me with a woman who does not want to have faith and doesn't want to see the kingdom go forward? And here's what I've learned about God. He speaks to me when I don't want him to. That's the secret.
Wow.
And
that was rhetorical, God.
He exactly. He drops this thing in my spirit, and he says, you'd be burned out already if it wasn't for her.
Yep.
And you chose her because you knew that. You just don't have the moral courage to admit that to yourself.
Wow.
And I have just found the thing I lack is what I was attracted to in my spouse.
Yep.
But the problem with that is it's so annoying to be reminded that I lack it.
Wow.
Yes.
That's so good.
So what the principle I always say is you got to value the difference.
Yeah.
What I've learned to do with Kelly is go, oh, that's not someone who's being negative or trying to embarrass me by pointing out where my plan's wrong. She's an early warning system.
Yeah.
I have an early warning system.
Yes.
And for 33 years, I've forgotten to use it too often. But when I do use her, it's
works out
That's so good.
You guys, what do you guys differ in a way that annoys each other?
I'll say the way that I probably annoy Jen is I'm all over the place. Like I have not finished an idea and I'm on to the next idea. So like we'll be working around the house and it's like, everyone who works with me is like, yeah, duh. Like, but we'll be working around the house. Not like we do that often, but it's like I started a plan in the garage, and next thing I'm like, oh, let me go fix that thing in the bathroom, or let me go, and she's just like, focus, like finish one thing. So I know she has a hard time with that. My issue with her,
here's my wife on that one. So,
Not a good place
and
to
here
start.
the emphasis here. So. Another project.
Yeah.
What she means by that is you haven't even cleaned up the half done.
Well, because it was too hard, and halfway through I was like, oh man, I can't possibly finish these shelves. I'm gonna go attack
What was I
something
thinking?
This
really
is why
easy.
this is why we needed Jen in this
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
But the other side of that,
Yeah.
the other side of that is Jen a quick starter?
No.
Yeah. See, my wife will plan and plan.
Yeah, no.
And
That's
rehearse
it.
the plans and
Yeah.
change the plans. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
we didn't have to. But at least I made the cuts in the board.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah. Like that's why we have cars and Home Depot's right there. Like I will just keep going back.
What
and
else are they
forth
for?
until I figure this out. But she's like, and she's a researcher, and maybe that's my issue with is like she's always calling me on my stuff because she's like researched it. So it's like we're buying a dryer, and I'm like, cheapest dryer, perfect. Like that's how I buy a dryer. And she's like, no, I've looked at all the consumer reports and and I'm like, well, when are we gonna get the dryer? And by then I've forgotten the whole thing, and our clothes are filthy.
This is beautiful. This is beautiful thing. And by the way, this is the passage we're going to go into this next weekend. Is this Genesis passage? Cool. But the beautiful thing about it is, God creates Adam, says that's good. That's really good. Mm-hmm. That's good. Then, woman and man are made, and what the rabbis taught in Jesus' time is that the good only happens when it comes back together.
Yeah.
That the good, that the pronounce of, that's good.
That's
that
good.
only happens. And so what happens is the genders complete each other. So what I don't know, my wife knows. What she doesn't know, and there's some sort of really beautiful, contrite, humble position you get into to go, okay, now we bring this back together and I become a better person. Which leads me to this question. What were you first attracted to in your wife? What were you first attracted to?
That she was very thoughtful, and it wasn't,
Yes,
wasn't quick.
yes.
Like, I remember us driving to her parents' cabin, and it was like, we were going to shut off a light or something, and it's just like, I was like, she's so thoughtful. She's thought through this. It's like, it's this pace that's not like my frenetic, like, pace, and I was just like, this is awesome. I love this.
The
one.
very thing that has the potential to annoy you is what attracted you.
Yeah, absolutely.
What you're saying to yourself in your deep soul is, I need that.
Yep.
I need that.
Yep.
What about you guys? What first, the tender age of 14? What first attracted you?
After your middle school
So
class.
innocent. We were so innocent. Legitimately, after our middle school class.
You're not, that's not horrible or bad. It's just something people did 200 years ago.
Exactly. Just trying to be biblical. The first thing I noticed about Allie was just her quick-witted humor. She could hang with the boys. I had my group of guys. There's 10 of us hanging. We're dishing it back and forth to each other. And there's Allie just standing her ground and pummeling us at that. We're looking at this girl like, who is this?
Look at us
And
who
there-
work with her. Not being surprised by that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that stood out first for sure.
So was it was the strength?
Oh yeah, it was
to go
this
toe-to-toe.
humble confidence that she could stand her ground. I said,
Yeah.
I love this girl.
Right.
Got to be friends with her. And then later,
'Cause we were
I got to
powerful.
date her.
Yeah.
And then high school, I got to date her.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Mine is, Tyler went through like the beach surfer hair phase. So it was like
Please
kind of,
show a picture.
yeah.
Please
It's on my
show
It's
a
like
driver's
feathered
license.
on the
I
end.
don't know. Can we get a
I'll
picture?
float you a
It
picture.
is.
It'll be
Okay.
great.
Okay. Good.
You'll get it.
I got one.
So that was definitely what first attracted me. But beyond that, he doesn't care what people think. And I definitely overthink it. But he'll walk into the grocery store singing like "Here Comes the Sun" at the top of his lungs.
Or
And
back
I'm
then, like Avril Lavigne.
yeah, Skater Boy.
You're walking to the grocery store singing Seder Boy.
100%.
That's it.
What's
And
interesting
some
about
girls
that?
might be like, not my thing, but
Yeah.
it was mine. So
What's interesting about is you both said some version of they were comfortable in their own skin, but in a different way, which is kind of cool. The one thing I
so
say
we were
about
attracted
this,
to the same thing in each other.
two confident people. The one thing I like to say about this Proverbs 18:22 verse, he who finds a wife finds what is good and receives favor from the Lord, is the finding doesn't stop at courtship.
That's good.
And so this idea of going, what attracted you to me? What right now might irritate me if I don't think about it right, but if I kind of value the difference, will reignite that. I think the finding has to be an ongoing process. We have to keep finding our spouse, keep going. What is it about it that you add to me? And the secret here, I think, is when we start going, I'm incomplete without you, we get out of, I'm trying to change you, which is a big trap. And we get into, you're more significant to me than you'll ever know.
great.
And once we start lifting each other's significance, you're important to me. This, a lot of times, what'll go, marriages, one partner's making more money than the other one. One is more with the kids than the other one. One has to travel more than the other one. And so there starts to be this significance imbalance. And what happens is when we start valuing the difference, we undo that imbalance, and we both start feeling valued and loved and significant. All right, let's go on to the
really
next
good.
point before I'll just start
That was
preaching.
just-
This is free counseling right here.
That's a wrap.
Wow.
What else are we
Do we
gonna
have to
say?
pay for this later?
Proverbs 29:18. Okay, here's the first principle: is great marriages create compatibility. It doesn't happen naturally; they choose it. Great marriages compromise expectations. So we all have an image in our mind of what our future would be. I always say this is like getting on a plane headed for Disneyland. The plane lands, you get off the plane, you're in Pocatello, Idaho.
That's it.
And that's the metaphor for marriage after a few years. And is there anything wrong with Pocatello, Idaho? Yes, there are many things wrong with Pocatello, Idaho. And so adjusting our expectations to the reality, or another one I will say often is, couples that are not married say to each other, oh, I can't wait till we're married and we're just going to snuggle the whole night. And then what you realize
That was my
early
dream.
in marriage is that your right arm needs blood. And so you're not going to snuggle all night. And so here's my question to you. I started with you last time. This is a hard one.
Yeah, this is for Karl.
What hasn't worked out like you thought it would work out?
So this is gonna sound totally sexist, but I'm an idiot, and because I'm like, I thought I want to premise it.
Yeah.
I thought every woman cooked like my mom. I know this sounds nuts, but my mom is a phenomenal cook. I know every guy says my mom's a good cook. Like my mom's a phenomenal cook. 8 kids, she knows how to throw down. My beautiful bride prepared us quesadillas, not even quesadillas, it's quesadillas,
The Napoleon Dynamite kind.
Yeah, and I go, what? And not fancy, not salsa.
All right, Haley, we're gonna have to have Jen on this show.
You gotta have her on. But this is, and I was just like, okay. And that moment, I was like, this is where we are. Yeah, this is where we are because there was we were there. Yeah, we were in Idaho. And it was
You were like, is there a bus to Pocatello from where we're at in Idaho? Because this is
facts. But I'll tell you on the flip side for her.
I was just gonna say that.
I have to be honest. Like her dad, one of my best friends, super handy. Like this guy can fix anything.
One project at a time, probably.
And he completes them, which is shocking.
And cleans up after himself.
What is that about?
The guy is amazing. So Jen's like, the oil needs changing or the roof needs mending. I don't know what she's asking. And I'm like, we should probably call somebody who can handle it.
Did you see him actually looking for the words, the roof mending?
The dishes need washing.
The dishes need washing. And so I phenomenally have let her, like she wanted a planter built once. And I'm like, I don't know how to build a planter. She's like, well, my dad did. I was like, well, let's call him.
That's great.
The first real crisis in marriage is expectations. And it usually happens, people don't read, I call it the place of objectivity. And objectivity is where I go, here's your strengths, here's your weaknesses, therefore here's what it's like to live with you.
Yeah.
And most couples, especially Christian couples, they get married before they reach objectivity. And so they know the strengths and they're in denial about the weaknesses, so they haven't counted the cost of the weaknesses. Then a year to 2 years into the marriage, the reality of he's not handy.
Yeah.
Cooking's not her thing.
Yep.
He lectures too much instead of listening. She's not an encourager. She's a thinker. All that stuff happens. And then we extrapolate, and it makes us very depressed. And so there's a difference between disappointment and discouragement. What you do at that moment of disappointment is crucial to your marriage.
Wow, that's good.
And once it gets to discouragement, then it's hard. It's a little harder to turn around. The second, you want to know what the second biggest crisis is?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's child rearing.
Here we go.
So if you bring that disappointment into how you raise a child and sleep deprivation and the financial pressure of it, then right around year 7 or 8, you're super discouraged. And that's where we see statistically where the divorce happens. So how you handle that expectation thing is really important. So let me turn the question on you guys. What hasn't worked out like you thought it would?
Babe?
You go. This is harder with them here.
I know you can say anything.
Known
when
each
they're
other
not
a
here.
long time. It's still
You
hard.
go. Just kidding.
Yeah, I feel like there's just been personal goals for myself in our marriage that I've had where I feel like, 6.5 years in, we should have all those checked off. And they're just not. And it's funny, Karl, you started talking. That was the first thing I thought of. Allie's dad is Bob the Builder. The dude can fix anything, build anything. I'm not a handyman. I've struggled my entire life. And it's just something that I thought taking this next step in this season of life, getting married, getting a house a few years ago, I'll grow in this area, and I just haven't. And it's funny, there's little insecurities that rise up in me from time to time, even just funny things like knowing the schedule of when the garbage gets picked up and making sure that the lawn is mowed and the grass is cut and all those things. And I'm going, man, I still have a lot of growth here.
You hit on something that's really important because a lot of times the level at which these expectations will hit a marriage are at the domestic chore level.
Yeah.
So in my family of origin, my mom always did this. My dad always did this. My brothers and sisters did this. I had a completely no gender assignment household that I grew up in. So dad's cooked.
Gotcha.
Mom's mowed lawns and changed oils.
Yep.
And I had no reference for any sort of division of labor like that. Kelly grew up without a dad. And so like Kelly grew up without brothers. First 2 years of our marriage, I kept saying, this is how much we eat. It is how much we eat. And that's how fast we eat.
Yeah.
And she thought it was like, she wanted me to go to the doctor. She's like,
There's something wrong with you.
you're eating too much too fast. And I'm like, no, if you have 3 brothers, this is how much you eat and how fast.
Yeah, you're protecting it.
It's true.
So you just had to, it seems like a minor thing, but like I always say, every marriage, your fight is going to be about 3 things. And it's going to be facilitated by 3 things. It's actually about deeper things. But it's the bank account, it's the bedroom, and it's the bathroom. And the bathroom is just, who cleans this bathroom?
Stinky?
Yes, just stinky.
Yeah.
Well, no, I've had young wives look at me and go, if I knew how much he would pee all over the toilet, I would not have married him. And I'm just being honest right now. And it's like a real, I didn't expect my life to look like this.
Oh, yeah.
Sort of a thing. So, Allie, what about for you? What was?
Yeah, mine's probably less about the like conflict of being roommates and more about like.
Well, it's a good way of saying it.
It is. Yeah.
Thank you.
Very intelligent.
Actually,
Wow.
it's a good ad.
No, it is.
She's a smart one.
I had one gal say to me, we're in this crisis counseling center, and she went, I said, what's the real problem? She said, he lives with me.
That's
Like, he doesn't go away.
It's always there.
He's always.
Probably more for us, it was especially early on figuring out how to manage conflict, like how to fight.
Yeah.
So for me, fighting was like, okay, sit down, lay out your grievances, I'll lay out mine. We'll see who's irrational, and then we'll walk away happy.
And by the way, it's you.
I will always win.
Who's going to be irrational? Him every time.
Fact.
But he was like, I'm not ready to deal with it right away. And sometimes responded out of like emotion and feeling like passion of the moment, saying things he didn't mean to say. And that was a big shock for us.
Is that surprising anyone right now?
Yeah. Not at all. Not at all.
So that was something we had to work through, and I made myself sound like an awesome conflict management person.
You did.
I'm not
Pretty
that
Because you're in
good.
the position to do that right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what I end up doing, and he would probably say is annoying, is that I come up with every single way to flip what I did to hurt him into what he did wrong.
Yeah.
So that's another thing where I'm like, oh, you're out of line for being offended because of this. And then he would respond in passion and then offend me, and then he'd be equally guilty. So
Double guilty.
it's a game. It's like a complex.
You know what's funny?
She always wins.
Oh, we only have
me.
5 minutes left. Wow, this has gone fast. Okay,
Wow.
you know what's interesting about this whole thing of conflict is we bring our family of origin into our conflict management style.
Yep.
So what you saw modeled to us, we do. Even if we didn't like it as kids,
Yeah.
we do it. And then we bring our temperament into it. So we have different temperaments and different families of origins. So we're coming in with two different sets of rules.
100%.
And expecting the other person to understand our set of rules. So
Yeah.
I'm a yeller, arguer. Here's my 6 points. And Kelly's a lever slammer.
Yeah.
So what do you get when you have someone who's way too intense and someone who leaves whenever it's intense? You get divorced. This is what
I
you
should
get.
laugh,
No,
but yeah, but it's,
No, and
that's
we had
funny.
to go right around
No,
year.
yeah, I didn't think
I
that's
think
what
he
you were
meant
saying.
us to laugh, right?
Right around year 3, we had to go, this doesn't work. We just have to both own it. This does not work.
Wow.
It does not work.
Yeah.
It does not work. We had to compromise our expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd say, being in a relationship is a constant compromise. I love this verse, Romans 15:7. Accept one another. Accept one another. Here's the kicker. Just as Christ accepted you.
Yep.
So you have to go, you have this dream of what your life should be like. My job is accepting that. And then, you have the Ephesians, which says, submit one to another. What does a submit one to another mean? I have to be the defender of your expectations, not my own. And that's when the relationship gets rich and wonderful and powerful, is when you shift from going, I have to explain and defend my expectations, to I'm here to defend your expectations and get you what you want. Here's one of the little just practices that I give couples all the time is sit down apart from each other. Imagine 5 years from now. And just do this with your gut. Don't overthink it. 5 years from now, where do you live? How many kids do you have? How many pets do you have? Who's doing the dishes? What's your income level? What are you working at? How many times do you visit your family, her family, his family? And write down your 15 top expectations of 5 years from now. And then rank them by importance to you. You might have an expectation, we'll have 2 dogs. But if it doesn't happen, I won't be disappointed at all. I just kind of expect that.
Yeah.
And you might have one that goes, we're not moving. This is where we're going to raise our kids. And it's really important. Then the next date night you have, come together and make that the topic of conversation. Not the conflict from last week, or not this, you were a little bit rude to me, or all that. I call that sort of fighting, Allie, the my record of emails. I have the email to prove what you said.
Yeah.
And that gets us nowhere. But you go, hey, listen, can I tell you about what I'm expecting? And then exchange the list and go, I'm going to work on this.
Yeah.
for you.
Oh, that's good.
I'm working on this for you. Okay, I got one last one. We got 3 minutes. Great marriages create compatibility. Great marriages accept one another. Notice that they compromise expectations. They articulate expectations too, because you can't compromise them if you don't know what they are.
That's good.
And third one is great marriages upgrade communication. They realize this, that if the first one's going wrong, compatibility, and the second one's going wrong, expectations, and the third one's going right, it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
You can work through the first two if the third one's working.
Yeah.
The opposite's also true. If the first two are good, well aligned, but you're not communicating, eventually there's going to be a problem. And people always ask me, when should I seek counseling? I always give them the same answer. Before you stop talking. Before it gets too hard to hear from each other. That's when you need to do it. Proverbs 18:2, a fool finds no pleasure in understanding, but delights in airing his own opinion. What I love about the Proverbs is if you flip them, the opposite's also true. A wise person understands the people they love.
Yeah.
And there's something about that moment when you go, oh, you understand me.
Yeah.
You know, what does every teenager say in the heat of battle? You don't get me.
Yeah.
There's some truth deep down in there of going, the currency of relationship is trust. Trust is earned when you're understood.
Yeah.
Yep.
So here's my question. Here's my question to you guys. When you fight, how do you resolve the fight? What have you learned about how do you bring it back?
Well, this is something that Allie's been teaching me for a long time because she's really good.
Yeah, ironically,
She's a good
she is
coach.
a really good coach.
She is.
Especially if you want to know where you're wrong. Yeah.
Yes. She's helped me see the other side. I can easily just get tunnel vision, and I'm in the heat of passion. I'm thinking only about my side. But being able to step back, zoom out, even just for half a second.
How does she do that?
see.
Literally, though. How does she?
She literally tells me, "Hey Ty, you should see the other side."
She reframes
Not
it.
as
She
layered
does.
as you might
She
think.
does.
She reframes it.
She really does, yeah.
So we're not talking now about this or that. We're talking about, let's reframe it over here.
Yep. Helps me see the bigger picture, which is really refreshing. It's calming, and it has helped us immensely.
Wow.
I think something I learned early too, like I said, we have really different conflict styles, is asking, what would you like me to do differently next time? And I'm not great at that. Asking
That's
that
interesting
every
because
time.
you ask that at meetings all the time. Now I see. We've been in conflict and I didn't realize it. You're so
She's
good
smart.
at that.
Compatible. So that's the big one is like, okay,
It's a great question.
next time, you know, I brought it up this way. What would you like me to do differently? And sometimes he can't articulate any other way to do it, which I think helps us both to say like, okay, it wasn't the approach that was wrong. It was the actual fight. Because sometimes the whole fight is just about how you brought it up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You transferred some grumpiness from some
yeah.
other situation.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
It's not about what it's about or something.
yeah.
It's like a saying.
Yeah.
But so that's one, is just like learning how to make it better for next time, every time.
Wow.
No,
Now
that's
we're
really
perfect
good.
and we never
Wow, that's
fight.
great.
Right. So reframing and then asking, how can I do this better next time? How can I be? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Carl, what about you guys? How do you guys resolve it?
Jen will always apologize. She always apologizes, asks for forgiveness. If she's right, if she's wrong, she always.
Do you know what Pastor Ray
apologizes.
calls that? He calls that the caretaker of the relationship.
Yeah.
And he'll say, don't feel guilty about that. Don't feel weird about that. One person always has a little bit more ability to be the caretaker of the relationship. That's just one of the things they do for your relationship.
Yep.
And they should be honored for that, not like there's some imbalance here. Why do I always have to apologize? You never. And of course, you know, you want to get better at it, but it's a thing that happens. I think one person goes, you know what? I'm going to be the dam breaker. I'm going to be the bridge builder.
That's good.
Yeah.
And
She does. She
That's
does
good.
that. Yeah. And when I'm not messing up, I'll actually. It's just a hug. It's just no matter what kind of emotional friction or relational frictions between us, it's like closing that gap of like that intimacy, and it's like skin to skin before I walk out the door. We just embrace, and I think that just making her feel cared for, making her feel secure. Like, hey, no matter what happened last night, like you're still secure in this relationship. I'm still secure in this relationship. I'm literally leaning on you. So, yeah, those are our
That's good.
resolvements.
That's good. the way I resolve it is I go, "You're right."
So strong.
I will say, I have found both my kids and my spouse. There's no conflict in which I cannot find something significant I did wrong. And just setting the example of going, here's how I mishandled this. Here's where I didn't hear you. Soft answer quenches wrath. And then the other thing, my kids are so sick of hearing this, but and we don't really have a lot of conflicts. And I think it's because we've said this so much through the years. And that is, this feels like you against me. How can we make it you and I against the problem?
Yeah.
Because we're a great team. And,
that's so good.
And then
Wow.
it's another reframe.
Yeah.
Where you just go, this isn't really what we're arguing about. This is you're stressed about that transition. I'm stressed because as a dad, I'm worried about you all the time. I'm bringing that stress into it. Let's reframe it and talk about that problem that we can both attack together. So, I would tell you, there's one thing I get from all of this and all the different couples that I've counseled. Almost anything can be worked out if we commit to honoring language. If we commit to honoring language. And one of the little problems I see, and I'll end with this because we're way over time and Haley's about to throw a laptop at me. Lately in our culture, we've allowed ourselves to speak less and less honoring to each other. I can't tell you how many couples I come in, I ask them that question, they have no answer for it. Or they'll recount to me a conflict I had, and Kelly and I'll go, oh, you said what to each other? Well, we wanted to get it out. No, keep that all in.
Bad idea.
Keep that all in. There's this idea that like my deepest, darkest fears and hatred towards you, it'll be healthy for me to get it out. And I'm like, no, that's unloving. That's unkind. That's not the best you.
Yeah.
Don't say that to her. Don't say that to him. I think we just need a restoration of super honoring communication.
Yeah,
that I speak with respect and awe for you. I speak not my worst thoughts, but I speak my most truthful thoughts in an honoring way. But anyway, boy, so much more we could do. So much more we could do. And by the way, we are going to do it. This is the beginning of like a 4-week run on this topic. And by the way, I want to encourage you. I know every single time we say like, share, follow, subscribe. This one in particular, would you think of a couple, a family, man, this would be just a timely word for them, and spread the word. Because here at the flip side, what we're trying to do is walk out the Bible every single day of our lives, not just weekends, but let the weekends be a launching pad for really letting the truth set us free every single day. So go ahead, like, share, subscribe, and make sure you let someone know about this next 4 weeks in this episode in particular. Thanks for coming, you guys. That was a blast.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome.
All right.